Look, if you're running a WordPress site right now, you've almost certainly felt the recent tremors in the search rankings. You know what I'm talking about? You log into Google Search Console, and suddenly there are these mysterious INP acronyms flashing red at you. As your dedicated developer for today's session, I know you've probably been staring at those warnings, kind of wondering, is my site fundamentally broken? Well, don't panic. We're going to fix this together. Today, we're completely breaking down this new 2026 Core Web Vitals update, demystifying what's actually happening under the hood, and putting a concrete strategy in place to get your site back to absolute peak performance. So here's our game plan for this consultation. We've got 5 clear steps to get you back in Google's good graces. First, the INP crisis explained. Second, finding slow WordPress scripts. Third, basic plugin performance settings. Fourth, offloading to web workers. And fifth, setting up your quarterly maintenance calendar. All right, let's dive right into section 1, the INP crisis explained. Let's look strictly under the hood to see what this new metric is actually measuring. Okay, INP. It stands for Interaction to Next Paint. At its core, this calculates the exact time between a user actually interacting with your page, like say clicking a button, tapping a menu, typing on the keyboard, and the moment the browser visually updates the screen to show the result. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that Google has totally shifted its focus. They're no longer just looking at how fast your page initially loads. Now, they are laser-focused on how fast your page actively reacts to users once they're already clicking around. Responsiveness is literally everything now. To really see why this matters, put yourself in your customer's shoes. Imagine clicking an Add to Cart button. A good INP score, which Google defines as anything under 200 milliseconds, means you click, a spinner instantly appears, and the cart just smoothly slides open. The UI feels snappy and alive, right? But contrast that with a poor INP score, something over 500 milliseconds. You click that button and crickets. Nothing happens. So you think, wait, did I miss it? You click again. A full second later, the screen freezes, stutters, and bam, suddenly you've added 2 items to your cart. That leaves your customer feeling like the site is just plain broken. And Google, they want to completely eliminate that broken feeling from the web. So, why do so many WordPress sites struggle with this? Well, it all comes down to JavaScript and something called the main thread. I want you to think of the main thread as a single grocery store checkout lane. That one lane has to handle absolutely everything, scanning the HTML, bagging the CSS, and processing the JavaScript. The problem is, legacy WordPress sites tend to shove massive JavaScript files, usually from heavy page builders or bloated plugins, right into that single lane, totally blocking the cashier. So when your user tries to click a menu button, their interaction literally has to stand in line and wait behind that massive script. And that waiting time, that delay is exactly what tanks your INP score. Which brings us perfectly to section 2, finding slow WordPress scripts. Because as any developer will tell you, you can't fix what you can't see. Now, tools like PageSpeed Insights are great for high-level view. But we used X-ray vision to see exactly who's blocking our checkout lane. I use this specific Google Chrome DevTools process every single day. Here's how you do it. Open your site in Chrome, right-click anywhere, and hit Inspect. Then navigate over to the Performance tab. Click that little circular record button, and then actually physically interact with your page. Open a pop-up, click a menu. Stop the recording. Suddenly, you'll see this giant waterfall of colored bars. Your mission here is to hunt down the yellow boxes that have tiny red triangles up in the corner. Hover right over those, and Chrome will flat out tell you exactly which file or plugin is the culprit. So what's the deal with those little red triangles? They represent 50 milliseconds. Any script that takes longer than 50 milliseconds to execute is officially flagged by Chrome as a long task. These long tasks are the massive, overflowing grocery carts blocking your single checkout lane. They give the browser absolutely zero breathing room to process a user's click, and they are directly responsible for ruining your responsiveness. All right, part 3, basic plugin performance settings. Now that we know who the bad guys are, let's implement some low-hanging fruit to clear up that congestion. The good news is you don't really need to be a hardcore coder to fix a lot of this. By using premium tools like WP Rocket, Perf Matters, or Flying Press, we can just check a few boxes and manipulate exactly when these scripts hit our checkout lane. First up, we minify our JavaScript. This just strips out empty spaces to shrink the physical file size. Next, we defer scripts, which tells the browser, hey, download this in the background, but wait to run it until the HTML layout is totally built. For those really stubborn third-party scripts, we delay them entirely, holding them back until the user actually scrolls or clicks. And finally, yielding to the main thread. Remember our grocery lane? Instead of forcing everyone to wait while a massive 200-item cart is rung up in one go, yielding tells the cashier to scan 10 items, pause to let the guy buying a single candy bar, which represents our quick user interaction, go right through and then resume the big order. But look, let's be totally honest here. Sometimes checking boxes isn't enough because a plugin is just fundamentally outdated. When that happens, we have to do a ruthless plugin audit. If you've got a legacy page builder or an old plugin generating these massive main thread blocks and it flat out refuses to yield, you are going to fail the INP metric. No way around it. As your consultant, my advice is to rip the Band-Aid off. Replace it with a lighter alternative. Seriously, just swapping out a legacy builder for a modern, lightweight tool like Gutenberg or GeneratePress can literally slash your INP times in half. Okay, moving to section 4, offloading to web workers. This is the advanced strategy for those massive scripts you absolutely cannot delete. We're talking about essential stuff: marketing trackers, analytics pixels, complex calculators. Since we can't delete them, we implement a new 2-lane system. Instead of shoving everything through our single main thread, we're basically going to hire an assistant known as a web worker. As you can see mapped out here, the main thread is now strictly reserved for your immediate user interface, handling those clicks, typing, and scrolling instantly. Meanwhile, the web worker takes over the background processing, handling all the heavy analytics, Google Tag Manager, and metapixels completely off-screen. Exactly like the quote says, a web worker literally acts like opening a second checkout lane strictly for those massive, complicated orders. Your primary lane stays 100% free for user interactions. Now, doing this in WordPress used to be a nightmare, but today we achieve this using an incredible open-source tool called Partytown. Partytown seamlessly intercepts all those resource-heavy analytics scripts like your HubSpot widgets or TikTok tracking and quietly runs them in that background web worker thread. Your marketing team still gets all their data, but your main thread stays completely unblocked. It's a total game changer. Finally, let's wrap up with section 5, the quarterly maintenance calendar. Fixing your site today is great, but we need a preventative care plan so future marketing tools don't completely destroy our hard work, right? I highly recommend adopting this quarterly mindset. In Q1, establish and enforce a strict JavaScript performance budget. If a new plugin pushes you over the limit, it doesn't go live. Simple. In Q2, sit down and ruthlessly audit unused third-party tracking pixels. These things gather dust and bog down the site. In Q3, pull up your real-world Google Search Console data to verify what actual human users are experiencing, not just lab tests. And in Q4, review and update all your performance plugins to stay current. This rhythm keeps those freshly optimized checkout lanes completely clear all year long. So while this shift toward interaction to Next Paint might seem stressful, it's actually fantastic. It forces us to build faster, more responsive websites for everyone. I challenge you, go check your real-world data right now. Look at your INP score in Google Search Console, fire up Chrome DevTools, and ask yourself, what heavy legacy script is currently blocking your main thread and holding your site back from its true ranking potential? Find it, optimize it, or just replace it. Give your users the buttery smooth experience they actually deserve.